The following is a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club. Players from 9 nations converge in St. Louis as USChessChamps.com presents the 2nd annual Summer Chess Classic.
Hello, and welcome back to the 2019 Summer Chess Classic. As always, we are your hosts. My name is Caleb Denby, and I'm joined with the wonderful Grandmaster Jesse Kraai for commentary here today. Today is round 9, the penultimate round of the Summer Chess Classic. The standings are still close at the top, so anything could happen, but the clock is running out for those players trying to catch the lead and get that number 1 place. Why don't we just see where we stand in the standings? In Group A, we have a 2-way tie for the lead with Liam Lee and David Howell. Jeffrey Zhang has fallen a half point behind after a rough round 6, I believe. And Sam Shankland also is a half point behind with an even score of 4 out of 8. Gawain Jones and Daro Swiertz both trail by a full point with 3.5 out of 8. And over in Group B, we have Grigori Oparin up at the top, leading by a full point. And so today is going to be like the last day that Sam Sevian has a chance to catch Oparin. If Sam doesn't get it done today with a win, there's almost no chance he can catch Oparin. Oboozian is also trying to catch up, but with only an even score after the first 8 rounds, it's looking like he cannot actually catch that first place position unless, barring a miracle. Following him are Sergey Ganguly, Igor Kovalenko, and Daniel Friedman. And over in Group C, it's also the story of one man, Arturs Nixons, also leading by a full point going into this penultimate round. Today is a big day because he's playing Dmitry Gordievsky, who is the number 2 player. So that game is really going to decide the standings in Group C. Let's take a look at the tournament format now. And so there are 3 groups of 6 players playing a double round robin. And the tournament format is actually a pretty tricky one today. I think some of the players were a little bit confused about the pairing, so we'll definitely have to talk about that when we see some of the games. The time control for these games is 90 minutes for the first 40 moves, and once they hit move 40, they get 30 minutes added on for the remainder of the game. They get a 30-second increment starting from move 1. There's also a 30-move draw rule in effect, so no draws before move 30. Let's take a look at the schedule for this event. So here we are, round 9 all the way down on Thursday. So today our show started at 3:30 p.m., but you can see here on the schedule that tomorrow the round actually starts 2 hours earlier. So we're planning to start our show at 1:30, but if the Croatia broadcast happens to run long, we will start a half hour after that broadcast ends. As always, you can join us here on YouTube. We're keeping an eye on the chat. We see you guys in there. Sylvia Avila and Tom, as well as Supernova. Good to have you talking with us in the YouTube chat. You can also join us on USChessChamps.com, where you can follow all of the games live. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, you're welcome to do that at St. Louis Chess Club, and use the hashtag #SummerChessClassic to get involved. Well, Jesse, what do you think of the games today? What do you think of the pairings? Any exciting things to look out for?
Well, definitely Group A, everything can still happen. And we're going to look at those games first. And the other, when we get to the big difference is these people are really close. I think technically anyone can still win it in Group A. In Group B and C, we're going to see there's a case of some severe leaders at the top.
Right.
So
let's take a look at these pairings in Group A. Yeah. We have Daro Swiertz playing against Sam Shankland. Liam Lee, one of the tournament co-leaders, is paired against Gawain Jones. And David Howell against Jeffrey Zhang is our key matchup for the day. David Howell leading the tournament, and Jeffrey hoping to catch up, just a half point behind. So this is definitely going to decide a lot. We see the players there, and Jeffrey actually has a huge time advantage, up over 30 minutes over David Howell. And it looks like he has a nice position as well. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, this was a curious situation. First of all, it's very typical that Howell has a huge time disadvantage from the beginning. And one funny thing, I got to hang out a little bit with Gawain Jones last night, and he was saying, because I asked him, I was like, did he just start sinking in the opening, or what's going on? And what he seemed to say was that actually what's going on is he's like really trying to remember everything before he plays a move, which is strange in itself, but I know several other top players do it. In this game, he kind of got caught immediately with a move that I'm pretty sure it was at least unfamiliar with knight d7.
Yeah, this one looks pretty strange offhand.
And let's just say the natural response here would be d4. But anyways, he starts tanking here. He starts tanking here, and what he did was fine, you know, and we get this position, which is novel and strange. And so one thing maybe Jeffrey even had in mind here was just to play reasonable moves, but ones that were just unfamiliar. And, you know, whether you have Howell's time pressure problem or not, if you get a novel position around move 5 or 6, it, in my experience, always goes to time pressure. That's just the nature of the beast.
So I do want to mention, I got the chance to talk to Mike Kummer, who's the arbiter for this event, and he told me that David Howell actually ran into some unexpected problems today. So because of this double round robin format, in order to avoid one player having the same color like 3 times in a row, you do have to switch around a couple of the pairings from the first half to the second half. And so David Howell was actually expecting to play Gawain Jones, his countryman, today, with the black pieces, but to his surprise, he was paired against Jeffrey with white. So while Jeffrey already hit him with that novel kind of knight d7 move, so his preparation probably wouldn't have made too much of a difference. I'm sure it was kind of an unexpected shock to be playing a totally different opponent than who you thought at the beginning of the day.
Right, you know, but think about it this way. So what does he do? He says, all right, I'll play knight f3 and g3 and then just see what happens.
Right.
Well, right away we're getting a novel position with knight d7. Anything could have happened after that.
Yeah, of course.
But I think maybe he was a little bit upset. But this
maybe I'm more fragile than these players. Like anything like that would kind of throw me off a little bit psychologically, even if it doesn't necessarily make a difference with the preparation.
Yeah. So, you know, we're going to see that I think here Howell has a nice position, but things get strange soon. And knight c3, maybe you shouldn't do it. Maybe you should just play bishop g2, because now it's going to get forcing with knight b6, knight f5, and you really don't want to play e3. It's probably playable. Anyways, this is how it goes. Snip, and then castles. And this is the kind of continuation you're only going to do as white as if you thought forever about it.
Right.
And that's exactly what Howell did. And knight d7 happened, and all this happened, and then all of a sudden, the dark square bishop is a little funny, and the king on c1 is also a little funny, where eventually a rook is going to land on c8, and the king is just going to be awkward. So already this development looked like, okay, maybe black's better. But here was the next move. It was played, and Jeffrey's thinking about it. I don't understand this move, knight b5, because, well, for several reasons. I don't understand what white wants after rook c8, and even if I just castle, I being black, just castle, what is the intention of knight b5? So, yeah, I don't get it.
It's a little tough to decipher, yeah.
Because imagine, let's say, I don't know, rook c8. If you do the natural king b1, I mean, it's just not something you wanted, was this thing to land with check.
Definitely not. Maybe he's trying to keep that e-pawn from moving somehow, but I don't think that's something black really wanted, right?
How do you keep... Oh.
So by adding that d6 square.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to move the e-pawn.
I don't know.
So Jeffrey's thinking about it, and Howell looks to be in a little trouble. And so this would completely upend the standings if Howell lost. But we've seen before it's more tricky. And we now get to see his intention. Rook c8 was played, and then knight a7 was played.
Wow, already this looks pretty crazy after something like knight d3 and knight takes f2. I really have no idea how those tactics work out.
And let's just say it's an implicit draw offer.
Of course.
Because we can do this kind of thing. Now, is there more? Now, the good news for black is if he decides this is all something he doesn't want a part of, he can play rook a8 and then castle, because that was his other option.
He gets that second chance.
So, of course, Jeffrey's going to be looking at all kinds of things here. I got a question. Wait, isn't this? I don't understand. It's almost like I feel like we have the wrong position because it looks so crushing. What about this?
Yeah, knight b3. Knight d3 was my original
But what's that?
take. That looks like nearly checkmate. Do you have to play rook d? I'm so confused.
I guess I got to do rook d3.
This is just losing.
Well, okay. Take a moment though. That knight on white does have 2 pieces under attack.
Okay, but come on, it's just losing, right?
Well, I'm just saying this is what he's thinking about right now.
Right.
Well,
it takes a lot to go for this with 5 minutes on your clock.
Well, you're already
you have to be really sure.
Desperation. And so there's knight b3, like you said. There's knight d3, rook a8, many moves. Let's just look.
Yeah, let's take a closer look at this because if this is working, then there's nothing else to really consider. So you have to solve the problem of your rook and your knight. My first instinct would be to play something like rook a8, just attacking the knight and gaining time through this method. Knight b5, I'll just play knight c5 now. Knight b c5, that is.
Check to the miserable king.
Okay. Yeah, so I didn't fully appreciate this one. King d8, I still don't know what's happening, but...
Not what you want, right?
Not what I wanted.
So let's
go
back, and this is our key position. Mm-hmm. One of our key positions.
There's just so many choices for black that it seems a little
Actually, it's an interesting thing that we witnessed earlier today where Fabi was playing Nepo, and he had a position where it was interesting psychologically because he had several good choices, and it was actually a problem that he had so many choices. If he had just one, he would have found it.
The good news for Jeffrey in this case is he does have half an hour left to David's 5 minutes, so he has a little bit of time.
Still, it's not the choices might not be his friend unless there's something absolutely crushing here. And how it's provocative to do this because you're giving black so many things. Let's look at your knight d3. I'm going to say that's forced. Maybe king d2, but let's just pretend that king d1
King
is
b1
forced.
looks more natural.
And then knight c8.
I guess I have my choice of rooks. Maybe I want to take the one on d1 so that your bishop on g2 stays undefended.
Okay, you want to do that?
If nothing else, this looks like a pawn to the good, right?
Yeah, but even if I do this, I'm not... If I was Jeffrey, this is precisely the kind of thing I'd be like, is that really all I got? Because now at the bare minimum, white can do that and that.
Yeah, that's fair enough to say, but...
And there might be something else. That's just me lazily taking back on d1. There might be some knight b6. I have no idea.
It's hard to imagine anything but black being at least a little bit better here, right? I mean, there has to be an advantage of some kind, no matter what line Jeffrey goes down.
You would think, but look at the Fabi game today. There was he had the advantage in every single line, and then I'm actually, as a chess fan, as a Fabi fan, I'm traumatized by what happened today, and it's
a tough
actually
game to watch.
Very similar to this position because there's so many moves that Jeffrey can play here.
Well,
let's move on.
I get the feeling Jeffrey's going to be thinking a while. So why don't we take a look at the B group and see what the pairings look like. We have Juanis Oboozian paired against Daniel Friedman, and that was actually quite an interesting game today. Igor Kovalenko is paired against Sam Sevian, who is trying to chase the tournament leader, Grigori Oparin, who is paired against Surya Ganguly in our key matchup of the day. With a win today, I believe Grigori would clinch the B group no matter what. And so let's check on his position. We see the players there. A little bit more even on the clocks than the first game we had a look at, but definitely a complicated position.
Yes, and I think, it's funny, we haven't had Oparin in the studio yet, and it's because chess fans around the world are prejudiced towards wild games. Oparin has been playing a very consistent old Soviet-style chess, which has served him well.
I don't know if that applies to this game, though. It looks like he's on the attack.
Well, but what I mean is every opening he's played very solidly, and this too, he just played a very conventional, simple chess, and nothing fancy. And it's white who, is pushing his luck.
Right.
Let's say I think black is already at least fine in this position, right?
Yeah, it's tough to say anything else.
F3, G5, and I don't know, to my mind, I don't know if I would say black is better, but definitely more pleasant to play with black because you're the one who's going to be able to do things. Mm-hmm. You're gonna make white wonder about the G4s in this world, So rook F1, we do a little dance. There's multiple moves here, like rook G7 could have been played. He goes queen G6, and white says to himself, well, I have to do something on the queen side.
Right.
We do our little doubling, rook F6, and it's very difficult for white to play this position. King G1 just fundamentally feels like, oh, I didn't really want to do that.
I don't know.
But he's protecting his rook on F1.
It's a little tough to find the right setup for white here.
King H8, H3, H5, Queen F2, and I think black is playing without risk, and he obviously is going to put this thing away right now if he finds the knockout. And the bummer is he can't. The white's not doing anything.
Yeah, it looks like he's just. He's got to be careful not to get just beamed by black here, coming through a G4.
And black can also take his time to do a maneuver like move the queen, play knight G6, knight E5, knight F4. That's something else that white has to look forward to.
The dark squares are very weak with this structure with F3 and H3 both played. It's not pleasant.
Yeah, so many nice moves for black. And so, as we said, this would clinch the victory and, would be a fantastic achievement for Oparin and send him to maybe not only the next level, but maybe the 8th tournament at some point in the near future.
Might jump up a group. And even with a draw today, Grigorya has excellent chances to maintain his lead to win this event.
Right, and we're going to look later at Sam Sevian's game, and I guess he's the other one who might have a chance to catch him. The only one, I think.
Well, let's actually take a look and see how the C group is doing. Don't want to neglect them. The pairings for today are Aram Hakobian paired against the Count, Christian Chirilla. Alshon Muradi Abadi is paired against Boy Genius, Brandon Jacobson, but the game that has our interest today is between Arturs Naiksans and Dmitry Gordievsky, of course, number 1 and number 2 in the C group. So Dmitry definitely needs to get it done today if he wants to catch Arturs and have a chance to win this event. And so, what has he done to advance that goal?
From the beginning, he's been playing to light up the board.
Yeah.
And the board is officially now lit up.
All right, mission accomplished.
So, honestly, I just I looked at this maybe 2 minutes ago, and it really has exploded in the last little bit. Why don't we walk through this one just to see how we got
It's
here?
well worth seeing how this transpired.
I call this the classical setup against the Perk, and C6 is a little bit more usual. Knight C6 definitely unusual, and I would say the old, I wouldn't want to call it normal, but D5 would be, I think, some kind of advantage for white.
So
here.
D5, I have a question actually. Yeah. I've seen a lot of players play just Knight B8 there, rerouting, but I've also seen occasionally Knight E5.
Right.
And what's happening in a structure like that?
I think if you want to do D5 and Knight B8, which maybe he would have done anyway, then it's questionable how effective A6 was.
Right.
I.e., you could have played Knight C6 now.
Yeah.
In fact, Elshon played this against me in a game once. And yes, we did this dance. And, you can argue that the pawn on D5 isn't well placed and I just opened you up.
Yeah,
but of course you lost some time. So that's the give and take there.
Always the trade-off.
And maybe, I don't know, it's an interesting question here, and one, maybe I'll talk to Arturs about it, is Arturs says, you know what, I don't want to do it. And in general, one of the reasons you play d5 is you don't want black to play e5 himself. But here, it doesn't happen, and Gordievsky plays e6, and so it's almost like it's a little psychological, but also like a game plan where he wants the game to go long, he wants it to be complicated, and what I see here is someone who is striving toward a hippo.
Yeah, no, definitely some similarities.
One
do you
thing,
think?
Go ahead.
So, do you think Arturs might have just played d takes e5 and hoping for some trades along the d file? I mean, I know if I'm in Arturs spots, it's going to be hard to avoid the temptation to go for something that looks equal and drawing and just secures my victory in this event. But
yeah, maybe he would have done it.
or maybe it's the fear of that led Dmitry to actually play e6 instead of the more natural e5.
The more I see Dmitry, though, this is his style. He likes unconventional, wild positions. And one thing that's interesting about him that is shown in this choice of opening is he's not afraid of being worse. Like he said that in our interview when we were talking about the Khan opening, right? He said, "I don't care if the computer says I'm -1. I don't care." So we got this position, and I thought White had a very pleasant edge. And I thought White had done everything correct here. Okay. So obviously A4, now it's going to open, but I still thought everything was great. I thought F5 very controversial. How can that be wrong? Knight C4, maybe not. Like A3 seems like it's also a good move. But okay, let's look. Knight C4, snip. Now, this is something he just overlooked. I feel like if you're going to do Knight C4, so the problem is, when Gordievsky takes on F3, if you take with the queen, you lose the exchange. But honestly, maybe you
might
just
give that one up.
You just sack the exchange. Definitely, I don't. But though you do not play Knight C4 if your intention is to do that. That's not what we wanted at all. So, for example, you could play, let's say, A3, Knight over, and then Knight C4.
Removing that Knight C2 trick, so you always have a little freedom of mobility.
And I just want to say White's better here. There's no big attack.
Yeah,
there's
this is a beautiful pawn. Stuff like F4 that you still have to worry about, but I have to agree with you here. A pleasant edge for White. Knight A5 is something that Black is going to have to worry about with that knight coming into C6 someday. But
so this was an interesting moment, this taking on F3.
Yeah. G takes F. Oh my goodness.
Knight D5, and then he says, okay, I'll give it to you. And so the argument has to be something like, I gave my pawn back, but I got your light squares. Hard to believe. G5. This is a really bad sign if you got to play bishop d2. And now I'm just going to go ahead and say Black is at least unless White has something amazing here. White is just lost.
You definitely got to prefer the black pieces, but
it looks just toast. It happened so fast, It happened so fast, and
we have more moves coming down the line.
Oh yeah, let's click it on. Oh, poor Arturs, you were doing great, and you were playing a great tournament. Okay, it was
97 and I think Rook C1, I believe.
Okay, I'm trying to get it. There we go.
So Queen F6, a few moves, yeah.
Rook C1, there we go. Yeah, there's many pleasant opportunities here for Black. Bishop C5, for example.
Where's this knight on E7 heading?
We just didn't want to exchange.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Okay, so...
Yeah, Bishop C5 looks natural.
This changes everything.
Yeah, this is going to... If Dmitry were to win this game, that puts him in a tie for the lead with Arturs Nixons. Right. So it would all be decided tomorrow. And possibly, if both players were to draw or to win, then there would be a playoff. So very exciting stuff happening in Group C.
Yeah.
Do you want to stick with this game or check on some other stuff going on?
Honestly, we're going to come back to this, but this looks over to me.
Yeah.
Strategically over.
Wow.
Okay.
So why don't we actually, before we jump into the other games, take a look at the prize fund these players are playing for. And over in Group A, the total prize fund is actually $40,000. First place in Group A is taking home $12K, second place $9K, and third place $7,000. And over in Group B, the total prize fund is $21,000, with first place taking home $6,000, and second and third taking home $5,000 and $4,000 respectively. Over in Group C, still a substantial prize fund with $14,000 at stake. And so the Arturs and Dimitri are playing for this first place and second place of $4,000 and $3,000 respectively. And all right, Jesse, what do you want to look at now?
We got to look at Jeffrey's game.
Yeah. So what did he decide on? He had a few tempting options there.
Well, very surprising. So Rook C8, Knight A7, and as we discussed, you could just play Rook A8 and castles if you didn't like any of those Knight D3, Knight B3 things.
Right.
He went Rook B8.
Very strange move to my eyes.
Now, Howell's in incredible time pressure at this point. Knight E1, Bishop takes, Knight takes, Knight E4.
I don't know if I agree with this approach from Jeffrey. I'm sure he calculated out those lines and decided that they weren't quite working for him. But as the bishops come off, the white king starts to look a little bit safer, and I think white has less tough decisions to make.
Well, he had one tough decision here, and he really went for it. He really went for it here. I imagine, maybe I'm just totally missing stuff, but it seems like if white wanted to, he could have played the simple Rook HF1.
That would have been my choice. But then I noticed something like B5 looks pretty awkward for white to deal with.
Good. Let's talk about that. Whether it's true or not, I guess that's the fear. Is that move?
So you're threatening to trap two pieces, I think, right? Trapping the bishop with B4, or maybe trying to trap that knight with Rook B7 to C7.
And there's all kinds. I mean, if you had time to think about it, of course, it would be a different deal. You can play F3 here.
Yeah, but
you've got. Anyways,
just the 1 minute on the clock. It's definitely something.
So
I'm sure he was
let's say
concerned
this: that this Rook B8 looked weird, but it has definite poison.
Yeah, this deep B5 idea.
But it's weird because Knight
nasty.
E1 wasn't forced either. So Okay, wait. I take it back. The idea here with Rook B8 is simply to play Knight E4 almost no matter what, and then follow it very soon with B5. And you might even play B5 even without playing Knight E4.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So
some subtle threats from Jeffrey. Maybe this is.
So Rook HF1 did not happen. Instead, Howell
Rook
said
takes D7.
Rook D7, King takes, Rook D1.
Wow.
And I don't know if we can get a close up on that clock, but it looks like he's got like 1 minute
just
left.
1 minute to Jeffrey's 23.
And it's hard for me to imagine that there's compensation here.
Yeah. It's just.
Especially because this knight isn't helping.
So you definitely don't want to cut off your rook on H8 there. So how do you deal with this check? Do you play a Knight D6 move, or do you?
Let's just say I go here.
Yeah, King
I
C7?
can also go King E6.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's tough to say. Really, I think anything looks fine for Jeffrey.
It might not be that tough to say, right? It might just be over. Yeah. So Jeffrey has that pleasant choice. I guess part of the idea is if he goes here, there's at least a check.
I never enjoy running my king out in front of my pawns like this, but Jeffrey has the time, thankfully, to actually calculate these lines out.
And honestly, even if he went back here, I still don't think white has anything at all special.
Yeah, maybe nothing special, but you can say he's achieved something, right? He's managed to force the rook on H8 to work a little bit to get into the game.
True, but still, since this guy's not working,
yeah,
it's like, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, even here, I guess, it's pretty simple to just play something like F6 or probably F5 and then King F7, right?
Yeah, and anytime this knight goes, let's say F4, we can chop it and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, King E8, not the most intuitive move. I was just pointing out that black has several options after this Rook D1. Howell, true desperation, and maybe, I think, it's funny. In hindsight, if he loses this game, he might create a narrative for himself that it was this pairing thing.
Yeah.
That honestly was his mistake. He could have looked.
Oh, yeah,
it was a natural mistake to make, of course. You would just assume that it would all be the same. But as we heard, it has to do with somebody getting 3 blacks in a row.
So yeah, very, very difficult position here for David Howell. And our key matchups look to be going not so well for the leaders coming in.
So let's take a look at Leliem's game, and he has a chance. He would rise to the top
Yeah,
now.
of course, him also
leading.
leading the event along with David Howell.
I thought this was a really interesting game from the start, and especially this plan we're going to see from Leliem. I'm going to just take it through here. Gawain played this bishop c5 earlier on in the tournament, so Leliem definitely knew it was coming. And this, it's kind of interesting to take on c6. There's so many modern openings that are now kind of based on this idea of the pawn weakness, but then in compensation, black gets the unopposed light square bishop.
Right.
The Rosalimo, for example, in the Sicilian, as we're seeing at the in Croatia as well. Knight bd2. We do this thing. I did not understand a4 that much, but okay. It seemed to me like black was basically fine. But here it starts what I call the checkers. When I saw it was upstairs watching this, I was like, this looks like checkers. Because he puts all his pawns on the black squares like that. Now here's a funny thing. I think Gawain's intuition was something like, well, if I nail the d3 pawn, what I can do as a strategy is I can just build up against the thing. And it seems like it's working right here. But watch what Leliem does. g3, knight at e1. And now notice, the knight on e1 is a miserable piece, but it defends d3.
It's miserably useful, right?
Okay, it's miserably useful.
You know, it's a very important purpose that it serves.
And so now we're getting into this interesting debate of, are white's pawns weak or are they strong? And right away, Leliem is like, I'm going to neglect my development and play f5, so I'm going to dominate your knight. I'm going to give your bishop, which previously was a checker piece, right? I'm going to give him this nice dark square. And so the second f5 happens, the game is going to be set for where we're going to start talking about whether Gawain can just simply blockade the dark squares and then be better. And that's the narrative that's going on even now. I think this started on 22, and so our current move is 33, so that's 11 moves later. Still the same battle, essentially.
Yeah.
So h6, dark squares. Knight h7. Bishop e5. And note that the knight on g2 is thinking about knight e3, knight d5. f1, knight f6. And I think this is interesting in that, although I believe in black's position, on a practical level, it's going to be hard to not have a bomb hit you in the face, right? So rook d6, nice move. It's all dark squares. So we're just trying to fight for, make the defense and hold the line.
Yeah, you're already got to be calculating bishop takes h6 on every turn here.
On every turn, right.
Oh, but then the bishops get traded. That's interesting.
But look, so he's saying, this is what I was driving at with this d3 pawn earlier. White says, look, it is a weakness, but my knight moved out of the way so my rooks could come through. And now it's a miserable piece, but it's taking care of both of your rooks.
There's some very interesting symmetry here, I think, between the knight on e1 and the knight on e8. Right.
The knight on e8, though, is going to have a future. We don't know what it is yet. In fact, let's say that that's part of the question mark for Gawain now, is to find his knight a useful square. And on e1, the knight is also always threatening to destroy the blockade with knight f3. So from, let's call it a classical chess perspective, I would like to believe in the black position. But I know that there's so many bombs that can hit you here. Queen f4 and knight d7 are the first moves that come to mind. I would like to put my knight on e5
Feels
That's
like
been the dream for a while.
feels like a very tight rope to walk for Gawain here. But if he manages to, get to the other side, there's some definite bonuses to his position, right?
And Gawain, of course, because he's English, is in big time pressure.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, I talked to him last night. He was a little bit nervous about this game. It's an interesting thing for him. He just recently crossed 2,700, and it's so hard to maintain that level. And I think if he finishes 1.5 out of 2 in these last 2 rounds, he will maintain 2,700 exactly.
Yes.
He's now -1 for the tournament. So he has to go to even just to hold the 2,700.
It's very difficult.
Obviously, if he loses this game, that's it. And so it's so competitive for these little morsels that we're fighting for here.
Yeah, every game has a lot at stake. I do want to mention we have a result in the B group.
Right.
Oboozian did lose his game against Daniel Friedman, who was rounding out the B group. So Daniel coming back on form maybe, although he had quite the shaky game today, I think, for both players.
Right, and one thing I want to mention before we get into this game is that after we went off the air yesterday, Oboozian ended up losing to Kovalenko from a position where I felt he was, I don't know if he was better, but I liked it. It was beautiful, romantic chess, and then Kovalenko ended up outplaying him. And we spent some time in that endgame.
Yeah.
Right? And so I feel like this opening that he played, it looked to me like he was on tilt. Okay. So it starts off normal. This is all normal business. A4, 94. This is all kind of known stuff. Now, though, it gets weird where he allows this and says, okay, Black, you can do all kinds of things to me. You can play...
Have my G-pawn. I don't want my G-pawn.
Well, not only the G-pawn, which I thought, honestly, was a risky decision. I thought, I didn't understand what White was going to do after Queen G5.
Right.
I thought any of these knight moves had to be reasonable. And, some kind of very basic developing move somewhere with the bishop has to be okay as well. There's no discovery yet on this queen. Anyway, so he took, and I think Black is actually just fundamentally okay here. But the next move, he misses a beautiful shot by Oboozian on the next move. So first of all, I just want to say, Oboozian begins this game on tilt. This is huge. It's a hugely problematic position for him because the king is permanently weak, and the rooks are probably never going to be connected. But knight c5 was definitely a mistake because Oboozian finds this very nice bishop b5, exclam. And there's actually no easy way to deal with this.
While you're looking at this game, we actually have Daniel Friedman here. If you wanted to have a quick chat with him about his game and see what his thoughts were on these positions.
If he likes, sure, bring him in. Yeah.
Sure. So I'm going to step out of the studio for a moment while we get Daniel in here.
Okay. So while he's coming in, let me just look at Sam's game, which I thought he was worse earlier on, and let's see if that's stayed the case. Yeah, it looks like he's still a little bit worse here with Kovalenko, who has had a number of good results, including yesterday, as we said, against Oboozian. It was a very interesting position where, let's just roll through it here. Number of different ways Black can play. And I didn't totally understand this position. I thought White was already a little bit better here. So we're going to come back to this game after our interview with Daniel Friedman, and we'll get his position, his opinion on this game. Maybe he was taking a look at it during the round. Okay, so let me pull this up here. All right. So Daniel, interesting game. I felt like after yesterday, maybe Oboozian was a little bit on tilt, the way he played that opening.
Yes, I was quite happy with that opening because I thought he was expecting Queen's Gambit, what I normally play. But then I thought, okay, he prepared something, some slight advantage for white and trying to press for
Right.
nothing. And okay, so I played this line many times actually, and I think he never played this.
Right.
And yeah, c5.
Yeah, this is the old style. The old style, right?
Okay, in
Yeah.
old style it's knight bd7, so classical Miran. a6
Right.
is it's like normal game.
Sure.
Not sure that a4 is the best move. Like, okay, it's different ideas. You can take on c5, maybe and try with e4. But okay, in the game I was quite happy with my opening.
Yeah,
Also, b3 was a bit of
a
surprise for
little
me.
weird, right?
Yeah, because I thought it's just too slow, but maybe the position after all is not that clear. at the end.
What do you feel he should do here?
Okay, normal would be just play, I don't know, the castle
Castles.
and then, or take on f6 first. Because if he takes on f6 first, I think I have to take with a knight. Otherwise, he will play bishop e4, stopping me from playing bishop b7. So maybe just take on f6, take on f6, and then just castle.
Yeah.
After bishop b7, and or maybe just take on c5, queen e2, and then maybe e4, maybe queen e2. But I felt comfortable
Yeah, you
with
should
my
be
position.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. We got this, and it was
Yeah,
very...
okay, here's like one moment. I thought maybe he can play queen f3 here, but it doesn't work
Right.
because of knight c5, I think. Queen
Yeah.
takes on f6, queen takes f6 or something like that.
Sure, that
Or
was...
maybe actually with a pawn also, then take on d3 and play e5, and then it's queen e4. Yeah, and here I thought it just...
Yeah, you're doing fine. Yeah, I think you're already better after this b3 thing that happened.
Yeah, also thought so, but maybe it's not so clear. But then we started to play like 1700.
Okay.
Not insulting 1700 players, they're
Right,
surely
right,
playing
right.
better than
That's
this game.
right.
But
I thought you had a huge choice of different moves.
yeah, I was considering playing queen g5.
Yeah, queen g5, yeah.
But then I thought you'll play something like in the game queen e2 and then trying to castle long
Right,
quickly. And my king is a little bit exposed, so I don't think I can really take on h1 twice, then because f3 and maybe my bishop is trapped. So I thought it's like normal idea, just take on g2 and play bishop b7. Not bishop b5, bishop b7 just to protect a6 pawn, controlling c8 square, so he plays queen c2 for example, then I had rook c8, queen e2, but now I just started like with a second move of the variation, instead of playing e5, knight c5, so terrible, unbelievable. I just...
So you totally missed, I mean, obviously missed bishop e5.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I think e5...
You got a lot, almost all kinds of different moves, because his pieces aren't really coordinated, right?
No, but okay, knight f5 is a threat, so I have to do some... I mean, okay, maybe it's not a huge threat, but okay, some move like knight b5 or whatsoever, knight b5 maybe. I mean, he's threatening something, it's not that I can just develop my pieces easily or something. I cannot move my bishop from f8 now because of this knight f5 and then g7 is hanging, everything is hanging. Okay, moving my queen from f6 is also not a good option. I think it could be all stuff, kind of like knight takes e6 and queen h5 check, something. I don't know. So I think e5 it's a very logical
E5,
move,
yeah.
like the chase to knight.
This looks weird, but maybe it's, I don't know if you can do that.
What is
that
knight
possible?
f5? You just what you want
Yeah,
separate?
something like that.
Oh, okay. Knight d6, and then just king is out. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. That's maybe more scary than you want to deal with. I don't know.
Oh, possible. Okay, 1 second after bishop d6.
Well, they're telling me we should go a little quicker.
Okay.
So he definitely tricked you and got a nice position. And actually, let me just ask your intuition. I thought the easy thing for him to do would just be to trade queens.
Yeah.
Just trade queens and then start playing.
Okay, at this moment, after bishop b5, I switched to the mode, so not losing
Sure,
under 20
right.
moves.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay. And, no, it's probably lost, but I have some play with knight on c5, because
Sure.
the b3 it's like hanging through and then e5 at some moment, but clearly I think it's white had decisive advantage, but not so obvious maybe, like you cannot play it just with a hand, like move, and then resign, yeah?
Right. Because here it got,
Yeah, he started to play a bit strange, but maybe he missed rook c5.
I felt like, it's funny, it's like I kind of want him to go back and trade your queen somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, both players were thinking a lot. I was up there watching you guys thinking a lot on this.
Unfortunately not, that's why that happens, I think. So play it too quickly in the opening, and then when it's
right.
already too late, you start to think. And then, yeah, knight rook c5 back, and then here's
a big blunder, right?
Still, no, I mean, it's blunder, of course, but I thought he will play rook d2 simply, just preventing me from playing rook c2 lately, and then, okay.
So let's show the trick here. I assume he
but here is the point that he can play, after rook c2, he can play queen h5 maybe. This position is not so clear. Or queen f3. It's not clear which one. So.
But already if you played knight b5, it's clear that you intended to play rook d2.
Sure, but still, I mean, after I played rook c2, he saw that he blundered a piece. Actually, he not, yes. Because he was unhappy that I played rook c2, and I thought he saw this idea, and then he plays rook d2, I take on b2, and the guy was completely shocked. Yeah.
Right.
But if he would see this, I think queen f3, it's really interesting. It's not so clear. Maybe white is still better.
Right, just because black's not developed and all that other stuff,
It's because of rook g7, it's just a tactic, and then knight d6 and the queen is hanging in this position.
Well, chess fans, it can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody. Well, congratulations, and that must feel good after just to get on the board,
Sure, feels good, but the level of the game is, of course, disturbing.
You feel, from your experience, though, in these later rounds, just weird stuff happens in the later rounds, right?
But okay, also before. And if we look at my game against Kovalenko, when he was winning like 10 times in a row, like from +8 till +3 every move, and then at the end I was even better, maybe winning also, and so on. I don't think it's exactly have something to do with the last round, but maybe, sure. I mean, you get tired, and then, but normally such a games shouldn't happen, of course. There's so many blunders.
All right. Okay, good. Well, we'll hopefully talk to you again tomorrow. And then good luck in your final game.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to take a look at what's going on in the A group. And in particular, we want to see what's going on with Jeffrey and David. Jeffrey does seem to have found a winning plan. Let's see how he got there. It was rook d1. He did play the natural king c7. And knight c5. Really, white has absolutely nothing. And even had to give up his rook. So I'm going to say this is already completely over.
Wow.
Completely over.
Yeah, this has progressed quite a bit since I left the chair here.
The good news for Howell is he's managed to move quick enough. He's got a minute and 43 seconds.
He's gained time. Good for him. But
honestly, I think most players would resign here, but when you're full of the
much.
adrenaline, and we're just going to at least go to time control. So, big victory for Jeffrey. Let's just assume he wins. What does that bring him to in the standings?
that would tie him with Liam Lee, assuming a draw in his game.
Okay, so that brings us to the next interesting question, where a bunch of stuff has happened.
So yeah, if Liam Lee wins this game, he will be the sole leader going into the final round. With a draw, he will be tied with Jeffrey Zhang, assuming a win in that game. So a lot at stake here for the Vietnamese #1 player.
Okay, so here we go. Queen e7, queen f4, queen d7. And here's white's critical moment, and he goes for it with e5.
Taking away those last squares.
Well, what it's going to do, though, is after queen c6, you kind of, if you're going to go for it, you need to go for it this way. And then it's a question of how much does white have here?
So what is f6? I guess this is the big question.
f6 was, in fact, played.
Yeah.
Gawain has now under a minute.
Offhand, this looks like a very, very serious threat. What do you do with black? You have to worry about pawn takes f6. You have to worry about rook takes h6. You have to worry about those two things, I think.
Well, obviously, Gawain is trying to base his defense on this pressure on f3. Okay, it does look terrible. There's no doubting it. How? I guess it's just a question of how bad it is.
Maybe we should zoom in on the players there and see the time situation. Because it looks like he's down to seconds. He plays King G8 with 5 seconds, or 6 seconds on the clock.
What I don't understand
This
about
doesn't
King G8
look like it.
Can't you play Queen H6? Can you do that?
Let's see. That looks very, very...
Let's just put that on the board and see if I'm
Very
missing
strong.
something.
Queen takes h6 is
Gawain,
played.
buddy.
So just 30 seconds to
I'm
find the
sorry.
response.
I'm sorry, Gawain.
I mean, you can stop the mate with queen takes f3, but then that's just hopeless. Yeah, we see resigns. White wins. Wow. This is huge for the standings. So Liam Lee will be leading by a full half point over Jeffrey Zhang going into the final rounds. And that's if Jeffrey wins his game.
I think we should get Liam in here if we can. I would love to. I think this was a real, very interesting positional game.
Yeah.
Again, with this idea of saying that the d3 pawn isn't that big of a deal. I can hold it. And as compensation for that, I get these monster-centered pawns. And then the finish is very nice because you commit to this e5 push. You allow the rooks what they wanted, but now the king is completely cut off from all his friends. And I don't, I was looking at things maybe like king h7, but there's multiple problems with this
There's
move.
just rook g7, right?
Rook g7.
Yeah, this is mate in two.
So I guess there's absolutely nothing.
Yeah. This f6 idea, very reminiscent of the Garry Kasparov days for me, right? You would see this idea very often where you would simply just put something in the way of all the pieces, and then the king finds himself isolated. So, of course, all the defenders, we had the rook on d6, and now the queen on c6, but nothing can come back to help that king.
And as we said before, the gut bummer is, this tournament isn't just about first place, it's about who can retain the honor of the 2700 club, and with that, Gawain has lost it.
Yeah. Wow, so big news for Group A. And we'll give Liam Lee some time to get down here. Let's take a look at what's going on in the final game in Group A.
Right.
I did want to mention really quick, thank you to Andrew Molinari, who gave us some money through YouTube.
Oh, great.
Very much appreciated.
A very first look seems like Sam might be able to hold on to his extra pawn. It's probably not going to be enough to win because he's got other problems, but at least looks like he's going to be able to take the pawn.
Well, okay, you can take h7, and then I guess the problem for me is what's happening after rook c3, just attacking c6.
Right, so let's look. So here, well, first of all, it's black's move. So
Yeah, so
rook h7,
rook c3 maybe.
c3, check, king d2, right?
Yeah, the only move to avoid losing the bishop.
And now I can think about bishop d6 and rook h2. And maybe I can throw in c5, but I guess that doesn't really do much. So, what is this? Sam has got 14 minutes, so Daro will have a little. His move is probably forced, so it's that. Yeah. Well, actually,
maybe Sam's considering playing something like c5 here first.
Maybe. And the other funny thing about this position is that when White takes on h7, maybe White could tell himself that when he recaptures that, if he just took on h7 with a rook, that maybe he's just holding.
Yeah, that as well. But that one doesn't look like so much fun, especially with the a3 b4 complex in that endgame, right?
I don't know. Those pawns might be weak over there.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying is that it's going to be tough to hold with the pawns on a3 and b4.
No, I was saying the opposite though. That these guys were weak. And
Okay.
that, but anyways,
Fair
that's
enough. So I think we actually have Liam Lee here, ready to come into the studio. So once again, I will leave my chair and let Liam Lee come in to talk about his wonderful game that he played today against Gawain Jones.
so. While we're waiting for him, we're just going to look at this Rook H7. Did happen. It was kind of, let's call it the natural move, and Rook C3. And now, if Sam wants an advantage, he has to find something special. In addition to the moves we talked about before, actually, Rook H2 looks like something to at least be considered. On Rook H2, though, something like Bishop C1 could happen. So it seems like White should be able to hold the balance, but Sam is going to try to grind him out here. All right. So we've got Liliem in here. As I said before, I thought this was a wonderful positional victory here. So, Liliem, congratulations.
Thank
That
you.
was a beautiful win. Yeah. Let's run through the opening. You tell me when we should talk, what we should talk about.
Yeah,
You expected this. Or
Uh,
one of the things you expected.
I expected Bishop C5 and I chose this side line. Okay, it's not supposed to give white much, but it's a long game.
Right?
So I think I got what I wanted after the opening. Maybe very, very slight advantage. After A4 on move 10, I don't think he need to play A5. He
Tell
could
me
do
what the
something
idea
else.
of A4 is.
Well, in some cases, I may want to play A5 to fix the queen side structure. And I just want to provoke A5 because in some lines where I go knight C4, he could take BC and then B5. So I thought if I manage to get A4,
Oh, I
A5, then
see.
he doesn't get the B5 idea.
Right. So maybe a case where the threat of A5 is greater than the execution. Because
Probably.
you're maybe you get him to play
I
A5.
think he doesn't
Uh-huh.
have to play A5. He could play castle.
Oh, that was very tricky. Okay, very
Yeah.
tricky. Because now, after knight C4 and he takes...
Yeah, he after BC I was happy because I mean I have more space and I can play on both the queen side or the king side.
And he quickly does this thing where his position looks like a checkerboard pretty soon. I don't know if he's thought about that during the game, but it was like all the pawns now go to dark squares.
Yeah, but I mean his play is very logical. He shouldn't get into much trouble, I think.
You think he's still okay here?
He's still okay here. Yeah.
Okay.
So Bishop G5 is I try to gain a tempo because otherwise his queen may come to F6 and E6. So yeah, I want to go to E3, but first I put my bishop on G5. So here I think maybe he could play Bishop E6 back. I don't know. Yeah, the way he play also looks logical, putting the bishop on F6. But I think it may be a little misplaced.
He can't get away with something weird like knight C5?
Yeah, I thought about that move too. Knight takes E5, bishop F6, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and here I think I could take on C5. Bishop C5, bishop E5, bishop back E3, bishop C3, and I have D4, and he doesn't have time to take on E4.
Oh, very nice. So let's just show rook E4,
Right, queen D3.
queens, or D3, yeah.
C2, yeah, doesn't matter.
One of them, yeah. Okay.
So he has to go back bishop B4 instead of rook E4. Bishop E4, but then I get these pawns going E5, F4, so
Very
may
nice.
not be very
nice.
pleasant for him.
You could, yeah, all right, yeah. That.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Okay, so let me just put into words in my layman's understanding of what happened. Right, my amateur's mind understanding what happened is that he created a story for himself here, where he was going to play against this pawn, and say that was going to maybe even be okay or better for him. But then you said it's only one weakness. Right, and then played this incredible F4. Is that kind of roughly what happened?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I guess he has to play C5 because otherwise
Right.
I can play D4. So he has to play C5, and after C5, basically D4 almost never worked for me because he can trade everything and get a good square for the knight on C5.
Right.
So I don't see any other plan for me other than playing on the king side.
Sure.
So I have to go F4, and try to take with the with the G pawn. That's the main idea.
Right.
Try to gain some space. So I think EF has to be the critical move, because otherwise I play F5 and I tap
Right.
on the king side. So yeah, here is a little bit tricky because it's hard to get my rook B1 to the game. Because rook B1,
right.
there's always rook E4,
Mm-hmm.
and D3 pawn is weak. So there's some kind of threat like bishop H4, knight G6, knight H4. So it's not so easy here to decide what to do.
Let me just ask you, did you feel you were better in this position?
I wasn't sure if I'm better, but I thought I shouldn't be worse here.
Okay,
So,
yeah. I thought it was real. I thought, to me, it was very interesting because, you played this. It's like you're playing without, for at least a while, you're playing without the knight and the rook, and then you're just calmly making these. And this was I think is the right move, but it's very committal, right? Because now he's going to try to occupy E5.
Yeah, I give him the E5 square, but the thing is, if I don't play F5, then he may have something like knight G6, and the knight will be really annoying on H4 or E5. And also, he has some idea like moving the bishop and play F5 himself.
Right.
So I didn't want to allow F5, so that's why I play F5 myself.
Right, right.
But here I think the critical move should be bishop H4. So forcing me to go bishop F2, otherwise I'm losing a pawn.
Oh, that's critical. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so then take, and I have to take with rook, and then perhaps queen D6 and try to get the knight to E5. So it is similar to the game, but he might save
He's
a few
much
tempi
faster.
here. Yeah,
Much faster, because this
yeah.
guy's...
And I still couldn't get my rook out, so I have to spend some time, like perhaps rook F3. Yeah, I was thinking about rook F3 here. Trying to get knight G2, knight D7, knight G2. Yeah, knight E5, rook G3. So, yeah, he cannot take on D3, but I think it's still more pleasant for me because I have this king H1, rook G1 idea, knight coming to F4. So
Yeah, it's really interesting. Because every time I look at this, I'm like, oh, black's got to be okay because of this. But then, no, it's not that easy.
right.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me. I didn't...
Yeah, the only thing is that I have to be careful with my pawn on D3. That's
Of
my
course,
only weakness.
yeah. Of course.
So
But like you said, it's your only weakness. So if you can just hold that, you've
wait,
got...
actually, I think he can take on D3 now because rook E1 there's knight B4. I missed this during the game.
Oh. You have other ways of reorganizing, though, here, right?
It's not so easy to get the rook out. Maybe king H1, but then knight D7, knight F3, and if he trade the knight, I think it's very, very drawish.
Again, I would rather be black. I don't know. Okay.
I don't think I'm worse here, but yeah, I think if he can trade knights, he should be safe.
So definitely, though, it's clear that this is much better than what happens in the game for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because in the game he also traded the bishops later on, but he gave me some time to consolidate my position.
Right, and so H6, it felt to me like this, like a very old style move with H6 where he's playing on the dark squares and, wants to do this whole knight H7 stuff. But right, I guess too slow because let's see how you do it now. All of a sudden your pieces start finding squares, and in particular, now as long as your rook gets over, then your knight goes back, and then it's like, oh no, that the knight's terrible on E1, but it's doing all the work in the world.
He actually, I think rook E8 was his mistake.
Okay.
Because if he just sit there, I'm not sure how I could improve. Yeah, because the thing is after rook D8, and I took on E5, queen E5, knight E1, and there's all kinds of threats on the king side. So I was thinking maybe he should play knight D7, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to do.
All right, obviously I don't understand the position as well as you do, but let me just make a move for you and you tell me what's going on.
Yeah, I thought about this move. Yeah, it's probably a good one. Yeah, try to bring the queen, and Okay.
You know,
so-
even here though, maybe you sack the exchange and say,
yeah,
the
that's
dark
a,
squares.
That's a
you know.
possibility. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can do that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's funny. I still believe in Black's position, but you showed something interesting, I think, with this knight holding on. Because this position, all of a sudden, now he's in. Even though he technically has the dark squares, he is in big trouble.
Yeah, I think he's in big trouble because knight f3 is a very strong threat, and I think maybe initially he thought knight d7 he could play,
Uh-huh.
but
Let's look
there's
at that. Knight d7.
there was some reason. I think knight f3, and now queen.
Let's say f4.
Yeah, queen f4, queen g2. Oh no, sorry, not queen g2, but d4. Yeah, and here I think it's already difficult
Oh
for him.
man!
Because
yeah,
once
if you
I get
get
d4,
d4,
e5, it's technically
Oh.
lost for him. Yeah.
oh, that's really cruel. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, and same thing with queen f6. I also have d4. Yeah, so it's already difficult.
Let me try to defend for the guy. Okay,
Sure.
so snip,
Mm-hmm.
snip, c5.
Yeah, you can do that. c5. Maybe
So
I,
if e5, I'll take.
right.
Yeah.
But maybe there's queen g2 and rook h4 coming. So you have to go rook g8, but that looks awful.
Can I do this? I don't know if this looks right or feels right, but can I do that? That doesn't look right. It doesn't look right.
I think knight
Maybe.
g5 wins immediately.
Yeah, something terrible is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that was a good. Yeah, d4. It's so surprising that you're then even able to do this.
Right.
It's like right. That's what Black's intention to hold you back the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So let's look at the finish. Knight e8.
Yeah, at first I also missed this idea queen c1. That's why I repeated one time with rook g4. But then, okay, I realized this queen c1 is a very strong move. And I mean, at first I think his intention was to take on d3 and sack the exchange. But it doesn't work because of queen takes h6. Otherwise, this queen c1 is not good for me.
So rook d3, and I guess you do it right now.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. And it's mate, yeah.
And you just at first, for whatever reason, you didn't see it right away.
That's true.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, after queen c1, I think there's no defense because the idea of queen c1 is to take away the f4 square,
Right.
so my knight is coming to f3. So, yeah, and there's no defense against this threat of knight f3, e5.
And the sad thing for him that I was thinking is like this knight is doing a hero's job because it defends this guy. Plus, as we see in the game, it can pop out to break the blockade. Right? But the bummer is this guy's not doing anything.
Right.
If he was just doing something, then we could believe in Black's position. But
Yeah.
no, it's not working. So let's look at this very nice finish. Queen e7, queen f4, and really with that you've broken the blockade, right?
Yeah, there's no way to defend e5. Yeah.
And check, rook d3, f6.
Yeah. Yeah, it's mate. Yeah.
So let's show one more move. Queen h6. Beautiful, beautiful. So you have a chance at winning the tournament.
Yeah,
Right?
it depends on other players, but
Yeah.
I guess I do.
Well, it looks like Howell lost, so the tournament is wide open. And who are you playing tomorrow?
I'm playing Sam Shanklin.
Sam Shanklin, okay. Let's get your opinion, actually, while you're here. We have to look at this game.
Yeah, definitely Black is pushing for the win, but it looks very drawish, actually.
What's going on if I just do this and then take this pawn?
Yeah, I think probably his idea is g4.
And then
Should be
this
fine,
would be
right?
fine.
Yeah.
Rook
And
e2.
perhaps give a check first, just to activate the bishop, and then
All right.
king b1, or d1. I don't know.
Maybe d1. and
Maybe
I stop
d1 too.
e2.
Yeah.
So maybe just rook e2.
Maybe rook e2, but then there's some rook a7.
Yeah, it seems like
Maybe you have to do it. Still.
he in the game he did take on g5. He hasn't taken
Okay.
on a6 yet.
I'm thinking maybe it's better for white to start with bishop e5 instead of taking on
Okay.
a6. So, for example, rook e2, there might be some rook c7. I'm just trying to make a draw immediately, but well, I think black has king e8.
What's wrong with white's position after rook a6 though?
I don't think there's anything wrong. Probably rook a6 is the best move. So let's say rook e2.
Okay, so let's just
Yeah, you
let's
can do
just run
b5.
and see what happens. So
Uh-huh.
b5,
g4.
g4, b6, g3? No. g3, b7, and then you can't do that.
That's true.
Oh, but you could play... No, but because when you check... No, you could check and then play bishop f4.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So let's do g3, b7,
B7.
g2. Oh, check first. Yeah,
Check.
doesn't matter.
And I can't
Maybe
go
what-
d1 because of rook b2.
Right.
So I gotta go here.
And g2. It's actually winning for black because bishop d4 there is bishop e3.
Well, it's not... Well, hold on. But on g2, I can make a queen and go to a2, right?
That's right. So you should first start with g2, not bishop g5. Then it's winning.
Okay. g2.
Yeah. So you have to play bishop d4 now. And now bishop g5, bishop e3. King d1, rook d2.
King d1, maybe also bishop e3, but
No, but rook d2 is much simpler
Rook
than take the
d2.
bishop.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is...
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. So, yes, there is hidden drama if rook takes a6 with the first... What we did was we played rook e2, and it looks kind of weird, but... Right, we need to make it difficult for white to
Yeah.
do things like bishop e5, and we're just pushing it. Oh, that was an interesting variation. Let's try that again. v5.
Uh-huh.
Tell me if you want to do anything.
Okay,
G4.
after g4, perhaps white should do bishop e5. Just stopping the pawn first. So rook
Okay.
takes e4
Takes.
and maybe bishop b8.
It's kind of definitely a bummer to put it on that square.
Oh,
right?
but black has e5 now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is not good for white.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, so rook e2 may be interesting move.
So right, this is what Daro's thinking about, whether he should do it. Definitely, if he doesn't take the pawn, he's going to suffer for sure, right? There's
Yeah. No, but I have a feeling that if white defends accurately, it should be a draw.
it
Yeah.
definitely feels that way, right?
Yeah.
So what are we thinking? Rooks. Yeah, I don't know what he should do. maybe it is difficult.
It is, yeah. So let's say rook takes, rook e2, maybe bishop e5 immediately. So my idea is if rook takes e4, maybe bishop d6. Just try to get a tempo.
Bishop e6.
No, d6.
D6. Yeah. So let's just assume that if you trade, then it's a draw. Is that
I
fair?
think so, yeah.
Okay. So I'll play then that one.
Okay, and now b5. Now maybe white is too fast.
Oh wait, there's a trick maybe. Bishop d6. Can I? Is this a meaningful trick?
King b2 or b1? b1?
Well, b2 I can at least get a check.
Right. Okay, let's do b1.
And then something like bishop f6 is your attempt, right?
Yeah, but now I'm worried about that B pawn.
That B
Maybe
pawn,
white
yeah.
is too fast now.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to get Jeffrey Zhang in here to talk about his game.
Okay.
And so we'll definitely be following you in the final round. It's going to be an exciting one. And so good luck.
Thank you.
And beautiful game today. I really enjoyed
Thank you
that.
very much.
All right, so we're going to be keeping our eye on that game with Sam. And while we're waiting for Jeffrey to come in, I just want to roll through some of the other results here. Igor beat Samuel Sevian, and so that's critical for the standings. And in our game of the day with Ganguly against Oparin, which I wish we had had more time to talk about, we still have a complete mess, but I think at least Ganguly is not totally lost or anything. Before, I definitely thought his position was critical. And in Group C, let's just say we have complete madness. Jacobian beat Chirilla, and Elshan against Brandon. Let's just guess that that's a draw. And in the very important game with Nexans and Gordievsky, let's guess. Let's guess that it's a win for our tours, but we don't know. We have Jeffrey Zhang in here with us with a very interesting game. And why don't we start, Jeffrey, with knight d7?
Yes, quite early, yeah. It was played by a few strong grandmasters, but I believe maybe in like speed chess, so not completely serious. And I checked it out, and it seems it's actually I play a similar line for white when I play d4, knight f6, knight f3, g6, and I sometimes play knight bd2. So yeah, it's similar. Like if you were to play d4, my idea would be b5, and I would be kind of playing those positions a tempo down. And yeah, I thought, okay, worth a shot.
And did you play into the idea that you said to yourself, this guy gets in time pressure, so if I do something weird...
Yeah, I had this thought, yeah. It's definitely,
Okay.
I expected that he would spend some time here to figure out what I'm trying to do.
Okay, so c4. Again, I thought you played well, but unconventional.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Unconventional
Very,
moves here. Maybe he should have played bishop g2 here?
Yeah, he was afraid of knight f5, and he didn't understand how to protect his pawn d4, because knight b6, I guess, is the threat. Although I think it's possible for him to just give it up, like for example castles, knight b6, queen c2, knight d4, knight d4. If I take with the queen, he grabs c7, and bishop takes is also unadvisable because rook d1 is an issue. So yeah, probably he should have actually just developed in the natural way.
Right, it was almost like he made things way more complicated than he
Although
needed to.
I think, yeah, somehow he may have missed this. Like he may have missed knight f5, bishop f4, knight d4. Long castles is a nice idea, but I've got knight d7. I think maybe he overlooked this move. Because, but although it's not like he's in any trouble, I think.
But he was already in time pressure.
Yeah, he was in time pressure, and it's getting a little bit sharp. Instead of long castles, I think it was more practical simply to take, go for this kind of equalish ending, bishop d4, queen c7. I have moves, like I can take, I don't have to take, I can also castle or bishop e6. But at the end of the day, I believe it's too symmetrical and should end in a draw. For example, bishop e6. Let's just say bishop g2, keep it very simple. Eventually, I suppose I should take on c7.
Right.
He takes, rook c8, bishop b6.
Yeah, you had multiple plans here too. You could probably take on c3 as well if you wanted to be a madman.
I could, yeah, I thought about that. Takes, and bishop d5, and try to play this kind of structure.
Right.
Although I assume that it should be around equal in all cases.
Okay, so, God, this is very risky. God. Okay, so let's assume he missed knight d7, and then we have to ask ourselves, how bad is this position for
Yeah, I don't think it's so bad, but it's somehow his king is always in a little bit of danger. And okay, so but he might have. We're discussing knight d5. He might actually have knight d5.
Right, I thought that was his intention.
Yeah. I think he was afraid of b6 because now his bishop is kind of trapped. E4 is critical. Bishop b7, bishop b5, and I think he just couldn't work out the tactics. So the point is, I think rook c8 should be the move.
Oh man.
And he missed. I think he missed this move, king b1 simply. And the idea is if I take on c7 with the knight, I think he takes on d7, king d7, and knight b6. Although no, I miscalculated because I have king e8 here, and if knight c8 I take on e4. So actually I miscalculated. Let's come back one second.
b6.
Yeah, e4, bishop b7, bishop b5, rook c8. No, I thought king b1 was the move, but hold on, let me think. Knight f6 doesn't work.
That's at least very unpleasant.
Then maybe he was right not to go actually. 'Cause then it's so now I thought king b1 works, but I can just take on c7.
Okay, well let's look at this position and just.
Yeah, so then what he played was absolutely correct. Bishop b7. He has a lot of options here again. I was expecting e4, but it's quite risky. Like e4, let's say. I could try to take on c3. This is interesting. My idea is if he takes, I will take on e4. And okay, bishop b5 looks natural.
Or in this position.
Yeah, in this position, bishop f3. But it's kind of funny because after rook d7, I think I can just take on h1. It's funny. And the rook on a8 is protected, so rook a7 just king f8. And okay, he goes rook e7, I go king d8, and I think he doesn't have sufficient compensation for the rook.
Right. Yeah, we were looking at.
But yeah, he can after bishop c3, he can play bishop b5 right away.
Play bishop
That's
b5
correct.
right away.
And yeah, now it's not clear. I mean, I can. If I castle, he takes on d7 with the rook. So it's not clear. That's why probably I would have gone for after e4. I would have gone for rook c8.
Maybe you can just. I don't know if this is insane, but maybe you do that.
Yeah, bishop e4 now. He will take on d7 with the rook.
Okay. And then, God, this is complicated. You got everything hanging.
Yeah, everything's hanging.
Okay, so
But actually, mainly.
maybe bishop f3.
Yeah, the problem with bishop f3, he will take on e7.
And my bishop is at least covering.
You cover d1.
D1.
That's true, actually.
Okay, I have no idea.
Let's see.
This is too complicated.
Rook
for
e7,
me.
king d8. But wait, actually, he doesn't have to take on e7, maybe.
Here. Yeah. Okay.
You can go rook d3. I'm saying like rook d3.
Let's assume that one.
Yeah, rook f3. I'm not sure. No, I'm probably just better.
Okay, but it's
Yeah,
clear
I'm
that.
not sure I would have gone for this because somehow, I mean, this position is okay, but somehow after rook d7, it looks very scary. I don't
Yeah,
think-
of course. Yeah. And already here, I think he was down to minutes.
Yes,
Just minutes
maybe,
left.
yeah, single digits. Yeah.
So here's the move. I guess if he was here, I'd ask him. It just felt knight b5 felt really strange to me.
I wasn't expecting it, although I don't think it's such a bad move, to be honest. And the point is, I think I want to take on c3 and knight e4, either now here or on the next move.
Uh-huh.
And in the meantime, it's not easy for him to find a move.
I mean, I'm guessing something like
Yeah,
that.
let's look at knight e1, bishop g2, knight g2. And now I can play rook c8, or I could try to be greedy and take right away. Take on c3, bc, knight e4. And ask how you'll defend both pawns.
I'm probably going to give you one.
Yeah, you have to give me one, it looks like. Okay, take on c3. Yeah, but now maybe just knight b5.
Even rook c8 looks good too.
Rook c8 does look good, I agree, yeah. Rook c8 also. So this position might be close to losing already.
Okay, so right, if that's so knight b5 is clearly the move of a desperate man.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the other thing I was thinking about was like if he could try knight d5, but I don't think it's also not very appealing. After rook c8, he moves the king, and then I just kick the knight. So yeah, actually, it's not.
Right.
It's not solving any problems.
Yeah. The bummer is that this guy's just out, and this guy's pretty out.
Yeah,
So-
my bishops are beautiful. Yeah.
and it's his king that's really under attack. Okay,
No, I think what he did was correct. I believe knight b5.
I thought you had several pleasant choices here,
Mhm.
and you of course got to think about it for a while.
Yeah, I think he actually calculated well, because so these concrete checks like knight b3, for
Mhm.
instance, king b1, bishop b4, rook d3. The issue is that I don't have time to move my knight is the problem. Wherever I move the rook, he's just going to keep attacking.
Right. Yeah, we looked at this, and it's if here, then he comes back,
Yeah.
and he's hitting here. So right, there were so many things you could do here. In addition, I felt like if you wanted to, you could just castle, and I thought you'd be better there too.
The point, yeah, originally I wanted to castle actually, but now I didn't see what I could do. So let's say knight e1. Very strange that it looks nice, but what happens is if he gets the light square bishop trade, which I think he does, then this knight on b5, it's hard to kick. And
I see.
if it kind of stays there, it's hard for me to do things.
Huh. Okay. So yeah, rook b8.
Yeah, that's why I tried to be clever here with rook b8. And it actually worked because he blundered right away. I was thinking, okay, he has two natural moves here. I guess king b1 or knight b5 back.
Or knight b5 back.
Somehow, I like king b1 more because maybe the knight on a7 has a future if it can come to c6 and
Okay, let's try king
lines.
b1.
And yeah, if king b1.
I thought maybe b5 was.
Yeah, we were discussing b5, but the point is now at least he can take on c5, so he doesn't have to worry about the bishop trap. And now, let's try knight e1, let's say. Although I agree that looking at it now, it looks very, very shady.
Yeah, I'm just worried about you. I'm worried about your poor knight. You've got several moves here, honestly. Knight e4.
Yeah, I like.
Knight e4 looks strong. Oh my god, I don't know.
He probably, well, at least he's got knight d3, so he can cover some things. That helps, actually. Knight d3. I mean, probably castle, right? Looks good. The
Yeah.
idea being, if I take on b5, I can
Then
take
you're
on f2.
you're getting the
Yeah,
the
I've got
drama.
all kinds of discoveries.
Yeah.
actually.
Okay, well, let's just roll through what happened, and this was full desperation. I felt here with rook
Yeah,
d7.
the problem is, I mean, if not rook d7, I've got a dual threat. If he plays something simple, rook f1, b5 is
b5
is
now,
hard to
very
me.
nice. Yeah, we were looking at this. That was, I guess, your key idea with rook b8.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
When they make a book about you, they're going to include this rook b8. Because it's pretty tricky. It's a pretty tricky move. Yeah. Okay, good. So what are you at now, Jeffrey?
After this win, I'm on +1.
+1. Okay, so the tournament wide open for you. And did I hear it right? Who are you playing next round?
White against Schwartz.
Okay. So this tournament, especially the A group, is wide open. Wide open today. All right, well, hopefully we'll have you back in tomorrow, and thank you
Yeah,
for
I
showing
hope
us our game.
Thank you.
All right, I think we might get another interview in. While we're waiting for that, let's take a look at everything that's happened with the Samuel Shanklin game. As you remember, we were kind of looking at very similar ideas to this position with Le Liem. And instead of G4 here, we're looking at Rook E2 for Sam. But let's look at Sam's idea. G4, Bishop E5, Rook E2, Rook A7. Here's a funny thing. Le Liem, we looked at this, and that's why we were playing. He came up with the idea of playing Rook E2 before G4, precisely so that after Rook A7, there's no threat of Bishop D6. So King E8 did happen, and my very first impression is that if White wants a draw now, he can get it with checking on A8 and going back. He might dream about more, but I think that's kind of a forced situation there. If that goes down.
So White escaping with a draw, maybe.
Yeah, and maybe it was a draw the whole time. It was just Le Liem had this cool idea of delaying the natural G4 and playing Rook E2 to, because Bishop E5 has to come, and you just want to hit him before Rook A7 comes. It's so very tricky.
Well, yeah, it's good to be back in the chair. I did just want to say thanks to Liam Lee and Jeffrey Zhang for sharing their very interesting thoughts on their games and the tournament situation as well. So since it's been a minute, why don't we do a quick checkup on all the groups and see where we stand?
Okay, yeah, let's do it. I need help too because so much stuff, so many violent things have happened.
So this is the last game in the A group, right?
Right.
And the least relevant one for the standings. And with a draw, I think that pretty much eliminates both of these players from fighting for the top spot.
Well, if Sam somehow won this thing, wouldn't he have a chance? Everything's wide open, right?
So these are the two games that matter the most. We see Grigori Oparin there, I believe. Or no, we don't. That's
Daro.
Darius. That's Daro up there. We see
And
Ganguly
Ganguly.
in the bottom right down
Right,
there.
that's
So his
Ganguly,
game
yeah.
matters for the B group. It's the last one still in play, and he's paired against Grigori Oparin, who is leading the tournament.
Yeah,
And
in
there,
fact,
on the top left, we see Arturs Nixons, who's leading the C group. So these are the two relevant games for the B group and the C group. Let's see
Okay.
what they can do.
can we pull up the standings for any of these groups, and then we'll talk about it a little bit because it's all happening. We didn't even have a chance to talk about Kovalenko's win over Sevian, which was very nice.
Yes.
While we're waiting on the standings, let's go to the game with Ganguly and Oparin. And before I thought that Oparin had a very nice position, and now I'm not totally sure what's going on. It might just be that White at least shouldn't lose this thing, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't lose this thing.
So I do want to say, with a draw, Grigori Oparin will clinch the B group. So all he has to do is draw today, and the tournament is in his hand. With Sam Sevian losing his game, he drops back to 50%. So no one can catch Grigori if he wins today, or if he draws today, or if he draws tomorrow. So just needs a half point to clinch this out.
It looks to me like he's going to win the B pawn, and that's just going to be a draw. But there might be some trickiness here. Arguably, I guess White can argue that the D pawn is far less relevant than the passer on the side of the board with this one, and that this one, even though it's not a passer yet, has at least violent potential.
So let's think about some concrete moves. I guess Rook B6 might be natural. And Knight takes B4. And what do you go? Where do you go from here?
That's part of the problem. If you could do two moves and get that in, that would be nice. Unfortunately, on G4, I guess you just do that, and then Knight F5, and who knows, and then no problems for Black. So that's kind of the basic problem, is that this knight doesn't have any beautiful,
Maybe something like
tricky tricks.
Knight G4 might be bringing the knight a little closer to a relevant square.
Where do you want to go after that?
So actually we see B5 played in the game. So an interesting way to give up the pawn. Not yet. I don't know about Knight G4. I wanted to combine it with Rook B6 to threaten some Knight E5 move, but b5 looks pretty interesting.
Okay, so the first question with b5 is, what's going to happen on knight takes a5?
It's the a pawn.
Let's just go through the obvious. I don't think this works.
This looks like a draw, right? So rook b4, we see knight c4. And maybe there's even d5 there.
No, I think this is very dangerous.
This
I
looks
don't know if you want.
very scary, very scary.
I don't think you wanted that. And
No.
besides, in this position, it should be white who's pressing, if anybody. So I don't. I'm sure he has some other idea. Let's look. Knight a5. Perhaps we could go. He actually played AB, but maybe that was the fear here. Rook a7. Right,
Yeah.
that looks like the fear.
little
So
dangerous.
I will win the pawn. Yeah, okay. b5, exclamation.
So AB is played.
AB, and now a6 at the very least looks scary. Rook b5 also looks scary. So Ganguly, Ganguly could have a little bit of revenge.
Yeah.
And a cool way, it looks very drawish, but a way to talk about this is to say, let's just say I play rook takes. I think a6 is also very viable. But if I can stabilize and not lose the a-pawn, which, by the way, maybe I'm simply losing the a-pawn, but if I can somehow stabilize that pawn, there's a strong claim to be made that this guy's not that important.
So this position is actually on the board now, and the player's kind of reaching this pretty quickly.
Right. Okay, so white needs a special move now. One thought could be, is this interesting? Rook b6. Let's just say you take for a second, right? Let's say I snip, king g5 and back. That could be special. Now, you don't have to go to g5. You could say to yourself, well, it's not happy, but let's say f7. And that way, on this move, you could play that move.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
I don't know if I even have to do this. I think
this is.
I didn't see quite what was wrong with the line of going to g5.
So let's look. This very similar things happened here.
So no,
Rook a4.
it's identical to the line we were showing actually.
Yeah. So he has to make the choice. Now, the problem with going to g5 is when I go to a6, you can't move your rook to, say, e4 because rook a5. And if you touch my knight with rook a3, then I can move the thing.
Yeah, but then I just want to play knight c4 next.
Okay,
depending on what you do.
So you want to do a g5.
Yeah, king g5.
There might also be some weird other problem here that you're creating with.
Yeah, just please don't checkmate me.
Well, we can dream.
And we can stay friends.
This is a fascinating endgame because, in addition to being down a pawn, black has an offsides knight. And so if let's just say we lifted the knights off the board, it's obviously going to be a draw. But if you imagine that we lifted the knights off the board and I was able to remove the blockade of the king, then we'd have a win. So this is close.
So
In addition to, you got to worry about this rook a6 thing, like we said.
this game is very close. I do want to mention that the C group looks like Arturs might be able to clinch the win here.
All right.
And
So
it looks like he's simply up a piece. We see him there on the camera with the wonderful mic comer in the background.
and we have no idea. We're going to look. But when we left this game,
Yeah.
it looked like he was in big trouble.
So a win here would clinch the C group for Arturs.
One thing I really admire about Gordievsky is even now, when he's down a piece, he still has aggressive intentions with his pawns.
Very murderous intent from Dmitry here with those two passed pawns.
This looks like it's over. Let's just recap how this weird thing happened here.
Sure.
So let's go back to this terrible, terrible position that we left, where black played knight e7. Oh, and then wait a second. So okay, so we left it around here, and I said something like, "It's got to be toast for black." Rook
For white,
C1.
you mean?
For white,
Yeah.
yeah, excuse me.
Looks very good for black.
Black had several moves here. He chose this one, and maybe that was a mistake. Oh, I think I mentioned like bishop b6, bishop c5.
Right.
Because now, knight d5, now I'm getting the e6 square, and I'm tagging your bishop on d4. So that was a key blunder. That was simply a blunder from Gordievsky.
Well, maybe if the bishop leaves that a1, h8 diagonal, there is bishop c3 to be a little concerned about for black, rather than this knight g6 move.
The good news for black is that it's okay. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but at least our king isn't on the dark squares yet.
That's true.
And we needed to. I think we needed to prevent this knight d5 because the rook wants to do stuff too. Oh man. Okay. So from this position, Artur's. Let's just say this: he's played a beautiful tournament, but he's definitely gotten some luck.
Yes.
In this event,
He's quite the escape artist sometimes.
Check to the miserable king.
Just the two bishops now. This is
Oh man.
this is not looking so good for black.
Yeah. So maybe it should have. Well,
And now this is
gotta
too
be
much.
At least he's still fighting some here. But yeah, we're going to call this over. And actually, there's a couple more moves being played. And tell us what would happen with the standings now.
So if Arturs wins this game, he jumps up to 6.5 points out of 9. It's a full +4, I believe. And the next closest player would be Aram Hakobian with 5 out of 9. So he would have a full 1.5 lead going into the last round, therefore clinching the tournament.
Okay. And, well, let's just say, what's going on here? Let's just visit briefly with Elshan and Brandon.
Sure. This looks like a dead draw.
Well, it's not over yet. Let's just say it probably is over. King G1 just happened, and no, it's over. We have no problem.
With black to move, it'd be a different story, right?
Yeah.
H2 is winning
That's
the
right.
game. But, no, yeah, you can put the king on H1, leave that bishop on that long diagonal, and then you can never be evicted.
It was funny, I admire Brandon's play, but I just want to, and maybe this is incorrect of me, but I want to just share a moment here. In this position, I feel like someone who's a student of Fischer's games would have never played rook a d8. It's like a beautiful King's Indian position here, and one of the nice things about these positions that Fischer showed is don't trade rooks and don't worry about the d file. If you're going to put your rook anywhere, put it on e8. And so I thought black should have played a move like queen f7 or rook a e8 and then gone to mate. Then it's time for mate. Instead, he traded everything off, and I don't know, it just kind of all slipped away. But let's look.
So, yeah, back where the action is.
I want to show another one.
Okay, one
Let
more.
me just show you this one with Aram and the Count. We had a very interesting game where Aram had prepared this novelty here with 14e5, and the Count thought, it was one of the, actually maybe the longest think of the tournament. I'm going to say he thought for about 40 minutes. And usually when you think for 40 minutes, it's the wrong decision. But I think this one was the right one. He played knight f8. And let's just look at how this went. I believed in the Count's position here. So queen h5, snip, rook f3, g6. No, I very much believed in the Count here. I thought he was doing great.
Yeah, he seemed to have positions like this all tournament long, where his pieces are kind of held back, and then he tries to break through with like this f5 break and stuff like this. And it's worked with varying degrees of success, but somehow it always seems to slip for the Count this tournament.
Well, one thing you have to say, when you play the Sicilian, you're probably going to get mated.
Yeah.
Queen e7 doesn't look right. Maybe it's true he has nothing better, but queen e7, there's this nice move, and already you're unhappy with life, because if you take on g5, fg happens to you, and then the black's extra pawn is pretty meaningless. So in the game you did that, and that's also not what we wanted in life. Okay, so man, the Count has had a rough tournament, and I just want to say personally, I identify with the Count because I I feel like he's a little stronger than me, and I imagine going into this tournament and facing these animals, and it's not just them being very strong, it's like, especially as a slightly older guy, the Count is not even close as old as I am, but he's older still than the average age of the tournament participant here, and you have to have energy for 10 games, and he definitely didn't have it.
So it looks like Grigori Oparin is solving a lot of his problems here.
Well, let's look.
Yeah, we see all the players there in the key matchups for today. Once again, we believe Arturs is winning his match, but the part where it's a little unclear is this Ganguly Oparin game, where
I'm not sure he solved his problems here. The knight, well, if you bring your knight back in, then I will be convinced. But until that knight comes back to the king's side, I'm not.
well, I've got a mission.
You got a mission. Actually, rook.
How do I do it?
Rook A5 was just played.
Yeah, Rook A5 was actually something that looked pretty nice to me. It's not the conventional pin, but the idea is very similar, right? If you want to play something like Rook D7, I'm simply going to be attacking your knight at the end of the line, and of course the Rook versus Rook and pawn endgame would be a draw with the black king in front of the pawn comfortably. So what do you even do with white here?
Well, it's probably not going to work out for you. Black is going to be able to hold the blockade, is what he's saying, and then we're saying Oparin wins, right?
Yeah, with a draw, Oparin clinches his championship here, so he will be the winner of the B group with a draw today.
And Ganguly will press, but I guess what is the best he's got is some. Let's see here.
I wanted to mention there's this kind of funny move, knight d6 check, but it's
Doesn't
simply
do
not
anything.
working, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't
we
do
just-
much.
We just go here.
Thankfully, black is not forced to capture on d6. so.
Right. And let's just say now there's a rule which says if you want to ask if the knight endgame is winning, you just lift the knights off and ask if the king endgame is winning. And the funny thing with that rule here is white actually would be winning with king h4 if you lifted the knights.
So the key difference is there's not any pawns left. There's just the one pawn. So the knight can usually, if it can make it back, just sacrifice for the pawn, right?
Right. There's some evil endgames here. If white could, say, have his king here on h7, then I would be tempted to say we could bully the black knight, or at least have chances. But now, we have to break several blockades, of all of these squares, of the black being able to sit there. And in the meantime, right, the knight is going to come back, and he's going to try to harikiri himself on the g3 pawn. So that does look like a draw. And rook a5 looks like, yeah. So, I think, actually, let's just briefly talk about the critical moment. Somewhere around here, I felt like Oparin was definitely for choice.
Yeah.
And he actually did one of the plans I mentioned, which was reorganize the knights and put them on those beautiful f4 and e5 squares. And maybe he missed this shot here. Let's look. Snip, snip, knight here. That's an easy one to miss, maybe.
Ooh.
Snip,
Is it good?
snip. Yeah, what a bummer. And then all of a sudden, nothing is as simple as it wanted to be. Maybe originally Black could have thought to himself that this was winning. But no, I have rook c8, and then I can just take on f5.
Yeah, so what happens on the obvious, being f takes e4?
That's
the
what
much
happened.
natural move.
So check and just take.
Just take the pawn. So we see there, the players have agreed to a draw. This makes Grigori Oparin our Group B champion of the 2019
champion.
Summer Chess Classic.
That's right.
So we're going to make an effort to get him down here in the studio and talk about his tournament experience. He's been kind of on the sidelines for our stream. He's just been playing very solid chess, very reasonable chess, and kind of daring his opponents to dig their own grave. And it's worked out for him. +4 is a phenomenal score after 9 rounds.
That's right, yeah. And we have another result with Daro and Sam did draw in kind of the way we expected. So Lilieb saw immediately what was going to happen here. And we had this on our analysis board. So, can we pull up some standings? Pull up some standings here. We'll see where we're at.
Sure. So pretty soon we'll take a look at the Group A standings. So actually all the action is done for round 8. So this is the group to keep an eye on tomorrow. This is the one where we expect a lot of action to go on. Liam Lee will have the advantage in the final round, being a half point up over Jeffrey Zhang. Liam, I believe, is playing Sam Shanklin tomorrow, who was the #1 seed coming into the event, so that will be a tough game for him. Jeffrey will be trying to catch up with a win tomorrow. That would put him level with Liam Lee, assuming a draw from that game, and he has Daros Wirtz to face tomorrow. So those are the two games we're definitely going to keep a very, very close eye on.
Yeah, and let's just say something obvious. If Sam is going to have white tomorrow, and he's going to press, and if he wins, he will, tie for first, unless Jeffrey wins, and then Jeffrey would be ahead.
So both David and Sam actually not mathematically eliminated. If Sam wins his game, then he has a very good chance to be in a playoff. And if David wins his game, he also has a similar chance to,
Well,
to
he
be
needs
in a playoff.
Sam to win, though.
He needs a lot to happen for David. But yeah, Sam, it's definitely not out of the question that he could be playing for the championship tomorrow.
Okay, I think we're done with all our games.
We can actually probably take a look at Group B standings as well, what we expect to happen. So Roy Oparin, with that draw, has clinched the Summer Chess Classic in the B group, putting himself a full 1.5 points ahead of the next closest competitors. Sam Sevian and actually Igor Kovalenko tie for second. Igor, of course, was at the bottom of the standings coming out of the first few rounds, but made a miraculous comeback, winning quite a number of games here in the latter half. Oboozian and Daniel Friedman both at 4 points after 9 rounds, with Surya Ganguly, former tournament leader, actually rounding out with a loss today. And let's see what we expect to happen in Group C as well. So this is what we expect to happen. 2 of the games have finished, but we're still waiting on Arturs Nixons to try to pull it out in his game. So we're expecting a win from him, which would clinch the championship, but it has not happened yet. Aram Hakobian has already definitely won his game, putting him at 5 points.
So wait, we have it listed up there as a win, but it actually isn't over yet.
This is what we're expecting. Hopefully, we knock on wood, nothing goes wrong. But we see Arturs there. So with a win here, he would clinch the tournament. So let's keep an eye on that position.
And let's just say, if he won here, he would be 7.5 out of 9.
Yeah, that's an absurd score. 6.5 out of 9, I believe.
6.5. Excuse me. Yeah.
So +4.
It said
Still
6.5
phenomenal.
up there. I was thinking you'd go 7.5. Yeah.
So
okay,
is it easy here?
It should be easy. It should really be easy.
How easy?
I don't know.
Would I be able to win with the white pieces?
Well, okay. Let's look a little closer. Rook A4. He's thinking about it. Let's say we do the obvious looking. Well, maybe it won't be so easy. Let's try B6.
Mm-hmm. I'll take your pawn.
Check to the miserable king.
Check to you.
And now let's be a little careful. One idea is to say that here. Nope, that's not true, actually. Maybe this is... So let me just show, if king c3, hoping that you're covering b2, there's unfortunately f8. And the game isn't over. So...
Yeah, this would be a mistake. Of course, maybe the most natural square you would think might be king e1 after rook a2, but then that runs into rook e2 check, right?
Oh, this maybe is a little spooky here.
Well, white hasn't played b6 yet. Does he have any other options besides this b6 move?
Well, I'm looking, and the problem is you need the rook to guard against g3, and you also need another piece to talk to f2. And it's looking kind of difficult to do.
Oh, yeah.
This would be a real disaster, Arturs. Arturs, what are you doing, buddy? What happened? Okay, what else can we do?
I mean, it's definitely what Arturs is considering. He doesn't like something after b6.
He could consider rook h5 and then prepare to give up the bishop and go back. It's not really what you wanted in life.
I do want to mention, the pawn's currently on b5, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we're looking here for a move for white.
Yeah. Oh, I think all of a sudden this is not so pleasant for a peasant. No. Wait a second. There's another obvious thing we need to look at.
I'm waiting.
Check.
Uh-huh.
King d5. You could go other places.
Right.
And then rook a6.
This is a nice way to keep the pawn defended. However, oh my goodness. It's tough to calculate this out. What if I play rook b4? And then simply g3 next, trying to make a lady.
This is what he's thinking about. And honestly, I don't see anything that special for white here. But, when we just look at ideas for white here, it's like, it's not that much. He's looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking at rook h5, and he's looking at the immediate push. I'm going to guess that when he got to this position in his head, he was assuming that b6 would win, because that's the kind of natural thing you just like to do.
Maybe an unusual try might be king e1, while you still have time to do it. So you can try to bring that king a little bit closer. So king f1 now.
Okay, so check to the miserable king.
King f2.
Check to the miserable king.
King g3.
Check to the miserable king.
Okay. I see
Right.
what's happening to me.
No, he's desperate enough that he's considering that too. Yeah.
So king e1, rook a2, maybe I'll play bishop d4, and that's a little bit different. Because now you can't check me so crudely.
No, I could still do the go here and here and here.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure what's going on here. But what I do know is we have Grigori Oparin here, ready to talk about his big draw today, clinching him the B Group Championship.
Okay.
So I don't know if we can call it a championship, but he will be the winner of the B Group in the Summer Chess Classic. And so let's get him here in the studio while I will take my leave for a moment.
All right. While we're waiting, I guess we're just going to sit around here and think about this position. We're going to look at for Artur's. And Artur's, also is going to get a little bit of time pressure here. And this is the kind of thing, even, it's hard to imagine, but it could go the other way if he pushes too hard, because I'm sure he believes that he's totally winning and will be incredibly frustrated if it's actually true that this is not just an easy time situation for him. Maybe one final idea I'll mention is you could do maybe king d3, snip, and bishop d4. I don't really believe in that, but that's a final thought that he can, not a final thought, he's thinking about all kinds of things here, but he's going to have to find a good move here in this surprising position where he was just winning before. Okay, I have Grigori Oparin in with us, and he drew a nice game where I thought he was much better at some point, but the big news is, congratulations on winning the B group. Yeah. Well, I thought, the whole tournament, you played very solid openings,
Yeah.
right? And you took your chances when you needed to, so that was real nice. And in this game, well, I thought maybe your opponent overpressed and you got a nice position or something.
Yeah,
like that.
probably. I think I was slightly worse after the opening. I mean, it's a bit passive, especially the bishop on e7. But then he somehow allowed that bishop g5, and after that I think I'm completely fine.
Right.
Maybe he should wait, instead of c3, he should have taken on e6 first. Takes, knight c4.
Right, just to prevent bishop
Yeah, I
g5.
think this was a more critical approach.
And you feel like maybe he's a little better here.
Yeah. I mean, I still have to somehow solve this problem with the bishop on e7. I mean, I can play queen a8, queen
Queen
g6,
e8 looks right,
but
yeah. Okay. So, good move, yeah. That's the... Everybody who has a bad bishop on e7 knows about this trick. Get that guy out. Bishop f4, nice. Yeah, I already felt you were better here. Yeah.
No, I don't think I'm better, but I have a very comfortable play. I mean,
Right.
I'm just moving all my pieces to the f file. Yeah, he took queen e2.
Simple chess, yeah.
Oh,
CD was a critical move.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that he took with the knight. That
But-
this seems to admit that he's worse when he takes with this way.
Yeah, probably.
So
But after CD, I have D5. That's the point. And that's why I put my rook on E8. So I protect all the squares. And after, let's say, he takes on D5, I can take, Queen E8, Rook E8, Rook E8, King F7, Rook D1, and now Knight F6, because if I take on C4, he has D5.
right, so we're
But
saying
Knight F6, and I think I'm completely fine here.
right. Okay. Still, I still feel like this is what he should probably do. Instead of taking here, let's maybe just here.
Yeah, but I mean, at the very least, I can take pawn on A5 at some point.
Right. Yeah, you're going to take on A5 at some
Yeah.
point. Yeah. But
Maybe first I can take on E4, right? And now I can probably take. Yeah.
well, he has some compensation or something.
Yeah,
But,
but
well, that was his choice, and I guess he decided he didn't want this. And after this, you get this. I felt very nice play with your knights here. Yeah.
well, with one knight, because the
With
another
one
one on
knight.
D7 is not that great so far. But yeah,
Well, we were talking about this, and we said already in the broadcast that already you were dreaming of this setup, and that's what you ended up doing, right? Yeah. So this all, I'm sure you could have done different moves here, but
Yeah, of
these are
course.
all pretty natural. And
yeah. Here actually, we discussed a bit with
Yeah.
my opponent after the game. I think maybe Rook 8F7 is a better move.
Rook 8F instead of King H8.
Yeah.
Okay, just so that you have more.
So let's say if he plays H3, like in the game, I can play H5, Queen F2, and now can play G4 because he doesn't have that check on H4.
Right, right. No check on H4, right. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to guess that what happened here was that you missed that knight DF5 shot when you played.
I didn't really miss it, but I mean, I think I still have to go for it
Huh, okay.
because I mean G4 is my only idea, right? And
But you don't have to play. There's no rush, right? Or is there a rush?
I don't know. Maybe King H7, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like you get to decide when you get to play
Yeah,
G4,
maybe.
right? Okay, well, it's because, well, what did you, I mean, it's obviously very complicated.
First, I thought I have H4 here actually instead of. Yeah. Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want to play
Yeah,
H4
here,
here.
H4,
Yeah.
But I don't know what's that. I mean, he can play Queen A1, and after Knight D3 he has a Rook C8 check. I just don't know what his position is. I mean, I definitely have some compensation for the pawn.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw this move, but
yeah.
you didn't, yeah. I mean, what was your sense here, that it was just a wild
I should be
position?
fine, but
you should be
yeah.
fine, yeah.
But I actually missed that Rook E4. Then it's actually a bit difficult to find a move because he wants to take on G4. I mean,
Right, yeah.
I think I
It seems correct, yeah.
at least made a very good practical decision, right? Because if he takes an F1 here, I think it's where's the mouse? Oh, he can-
Sorry about that. So knight F1.
Yeah, Rook F1, King H2, King H2, Knight F3, takes, check, G2, Rook F2, and I think it's just a draw. Rook G4. take on g2, queen f4. Should be a perpetual somewhere.
Right, okay. Yeah. So, so yeah, now you were just like, I'm going to close it down. I'm going to close this thing down. Yeah, very nice. And I guess this is the best that he's got here, what he does?
Probably, but I think it's still a draw.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought...
Rook d4 is an important move, yeah. I mean, I'm basically going to play knight c6.
Right.
Knight, you can play g3 or king g3, but knight c6 is coming anyway.
Right, so let's just state the obvious that if rook b6, you've
Rook
got
d3,
rook
yeah.
d3, yeah. Okay, so good. So he has to do this, and that's the... I bet he was. I bet he thought he was better here. You at least hope. You at least hope you're a little bit better here. G3. I guess that's what he's got to do, and then this is now looking
And
very
then I'm
drawish.
just exchanging everything.
Yeah. I thought he was going to be a little bit. It was like a little bit close, but yeah, it's not really close at all.
Yeah. Just
And rook a5 was just a nice way to finish it all off.
Yeah.
Well, all right, beautiful tournament. Yeah, I felt like, you're so young that you probably, you didn't grow up in the Soviet times, but this felt like you played a Soviet tournament. Right? You play like the old school, just keep it nice and solid and take your chances when you get it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's got to be a huge victory, and hopefully we'll get you in the A group next year, right?
hope
That
so,
would be
yeah.
nice. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look in. Oh, Grigori, while you're here, let's get your opinion on this position here. It seemed like Arturis was just winning this thing, and now it's devolved into
what's
this. I don't know.
Where's the bishop?
Where's the bishop go? Good question. And okay, what is happening here?
Would like to move then. Well, I think it's just a draw.
What's that?
I think it's just a draw.
It should be, right? Because even if we have to somehow sacrifice our rook for the pawn, there should be some way to come back. Well, what's the best way? Maybe.
Well, maybe it's not so easy.
Maybe not so easy.
I mean, rook f7.
Rook f7. Let's try that first.
King c4 is a move.
I'll tell you what. I'll try this.
Yeah, but
Maybe even rook g5 takes and come back to g5.
but I can play rook g7 there.
Let's look at that for a second. Rook g5 here, and you're saying rook g7?
Or rook g5 is working, yeah?
Yeah.
Anyway. So maybe king e4 is a more clever move, yeah? Here. King e4. So after rook h5, I now have rook g7.
Wait, I have to admit, I don't understand. So king f4, rook h5, what was the problem?
Rook g7 and rook g5. And there is the check on b8.
Oh, the check on b8, very good. Okay, yeah. So king e4, rook h5,
Rook g7.
rook g7.
Yeah, this is a draw, but if you don't take on h5, I mean, c5.
Let's see, king c5, king f3, right?
Yep.
What else am I going to do? Okay, so we're assuming that rook h5, rook g7 is probably still a draw?
Yep.
So king c6.
Yeah, there's one move, and g3.
v7. Wait, can I take it now?
Maybe b7 wins. No, not.
I think that might win too, but okay, let's look. So
Not.
b7. Well, here I was thinking I could do
Yeah, but
here, here,
I think you're not
here.
in time.
here, right?
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, it looks like I'm not in time. So, no, I'm definitely not in time.
Yeah.
Here, here, and here.
So maybe, but you have huge,
Yeah, let's go. So this is our position on the board. So rook f7 is one of our main candidate moves. What else? I guess it seems like rook f1 just loses immediately
Yeah.
to b7.
basically there are like two moves, yeah? Rook f3 and rook f7. But I don't see any point in making the check, yeah.
Rook
Yeah.
f3, right? Just seems like I'm helping the king.
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we're saying rook f7 seems forced. So before, I think I did king c4, right?
Yeah.
What about king d4 to prevent, maybe, yeah, what about king d4? Maybe it doesn't make any difference. I still play.
By the way, I think it just, we don't need rook g5, yeah, right? We can just move our king forward.
Okay, so either king d4
Yeah.
or king c4. King f5.
Or king c5 or king d5. Yeah. And just wins on the spot, yeah.
And then we're just going to do this, right?
Yeah. And you're like 3 tempies the line.
All right, so here we are. This is our position. You know, Artur's, it seemed like maybe he made it hard on himself, but maybe he's still winning in this position. Actually, it's funny, when we left this position, I think it was here. And it seemed like, before it seemed like he was clearly winning, and then all of a sudden it got tricky here. So let's just see what he did. He said, here, check, f2, and then we get this position, rook g8, a beautiful move, rook g8.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's winning, yeah. First impression was wrong, yeah.
Right, right. Well, you get that impression because before he was just, it seems like
Yeah.
up a piece, and now
Yeah.
all of a sudden we have this, yeah. Okay, so unless Gordievsky comes up with a defense that we don't see, it looks totally lost.
Yeah, I don't see any defense, yeah. I mean, black king is a way too slow.
Is that the look of a man who's winning? He looks, he's thinking about it. Oh, man. Yeah, that was actually very impressive because clearly he had lost control of the game in this position where he was thinking after rook a4, but then found, I'm going to guess he found this whole thing starting from this position here. So b6 takes. I don't know what else black's supposed to do. And then rook g8. No, that's not going to change anything. Let's just try one more time. So rook
Okay.
f7, king c4. It doesn't. It seems like all the moves are the same.
Yeah. So you can try to go for the h4 pawn, right?
How do I go for the h4 pawn? Oh, maybe. So you're thinking, oh, go behind. Okay, let's try that. So let's say here, here. Oh, there's an idea. Oh, it's a good thing we came back and looked. Maybe not so
Yeah.
easy. So let's just show. It looks like black actually has no problems in this variation, right? I'm guessing. Maybe that's not true, actually.
King g3, I guess. Yeah.
King g3, right?
King f2 or king f3.
King f3 seems right, just to shoulder the king, right?
H4 should be a draw as well, yeah.
Yeah, he's got it. Okay. Oh man. Okay, let's see if white can do anything clever.
So actually, maybe it is important to play rook g5 at some point.
Rook f7 is on the board.
King c4, yeah.
Well, does it make any difference if I go king d4? If
No,
I,
he played king c4
oh,
already.
he played king c4. Okay. Let's imagine this king e5. Now, wait a second, though. In this position. All right, so again, the problem is if here, 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 we're worried about that. We're still worried about that.
Yeah, but here rook g5 works,
But here rook g5 works, so the king has to always go to e4.
probably.
So e4.
But this is a way to solve, yeah? Right.
But now, the king at least is one more
Yeah,
tempo
yeah,
behind. All right, let me just see if it makes a difference. So here, king f3,
King f3, yeah.
king a6,
So king g3, yeah.
and now I take it.
King h3. Ah, but yeah, I don't have
B7.
any idea, yeah. g3 and
Well, you got to take
Look,
the
yeah.
pawn, right?
I can just pass, yeah. G3, king c6 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I go like this.
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't matter, yeah.
Okay, so this is happening. Let's get the position on the board. King e5. And so we're saying rook g5 is the attempt, at least that we're seeing. And then we're saying the f4 square is mined because this is a queening with check in the following variation. Here, 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 b7.
Yep.
Oh man,
Yeah, and rook g5 is on the board, yeah.
rook g5 on the board. Oh man, Arturs is playing an
So
amazing game.
At least we are not that bad in getting zero moves.
Okay, so here it looks like there's two choices. Going back, I'm just going to go here
Yeah.
and that's it. Okay, so let's say that let's just say that e4 is the only attempt. King b5. King f3, but that's not gonna. Okay, let me just try this one more time. King f3, king a6.
So he played king f4.
He played king f4. Now we're going to see if rook h5 is played. It does seem important because, as we saw before, if king d5, then black is faster to get to.
Yeah, but maybe you can take on h5 here.
Maybe I can still do it. Okay. Okay, king h3.
King a6. G3, b7. I'm right in timing. Yeah, king a7.
Oh, and then always here, and then you just
Rook
go
g5,
rook
yeah.
g5. Oh, so we're saying even then it's not complicated. We were making it way harder on ourselves. King
Yeah,
f4.
but he took on h5, yeah. As we predicted.
As we predicted, okay. But black didn't try this king g3 thing. So, to be clear, the problem here was that because the king was on here, rook g7, rook g5, and we queen with check. So, but this looks, at least we were thinking here, that rook g5 was winning. But maybe there's a trick? Can I try this trick?
I thought rook g8 is winning.
So, let's say king f3.
King b5. G2 probably. King a6. Yeah, but now you can just take on h4. So this is the one.
Okay, so let's go back for a second. So rook g. So we're waiting on this move, and we're at least guessing rook g5. The players are they don't have forever to move here, and we just looked at rook h7 to undermine the rook. Is there another move besides rook g5? Like, maybe not, because I'm
Probably.
threatening king g4.
And you are threatening rook g7 as well, so...
Right. So rook g5, rook h7. Okay, so rook g8 didn't seem to work because of this. And on king a6, we just took.
Yep.
And the problem is now we can sack the rook. There was some positions we couldn't sack the rook, but
Yeah, very interesting game, yeah?
yeah. So g3, rook g5.
And actually,
Go ahead.
I thought maybe if we can go king b5 first here, maybe rook h7 is a move here. Just to secure king g3 on the next move.
Let's show that. So king a6,
King g3. Yeah.
king g3, b7.
We can take here.
Now it's simple, yeah. And then that's pretty easily drawn.
Yeah.
Okay. So, things have happened. Let's look at what happened. King f4, rook h5, g3, and now rook b5. Okay.
That's nice, yeah. I just completely missed that. So rook b7, I guess, is the only move.
Why can't I do g2?
G2, yeah, probably. Rook b1.
Rook b1?
Yeah, but it's not working. Should not work.
I mean king g3, right?
Yeah, just.
And I'm even threatening rook f1.
Yeah. So rook b5, g2. What's his idea? Rook g5 now, but it doesn't feel right.
That would be pretty fancy. Maybe, though, let's give it a shot. I don't know, if g2 is on the board, I don't know what else he's going to do besides rook
Yeah.
g5, right?
Yeah, rook g5, king f3.
And now, I think if king up, you have to worry about rook f5.
But even rook h7 is a draw. I mean.
Oh, excuse me, that's a check, though.
Rook
That's a check.
h7 is a draw.
Right. Let's try king b5.
Yeah, rook h7. I mean, we had the same position with the pawn on g3 or something like that.
That's
yeah.
right. Well, I'm right. Rook b5 gave away a tempo. All right. So what? Let's just say here. So it seems like that our problem was if rook g5, we didn't see a win after rook
Yeah.
h7. And so he came up with rook b5, but maybe he's just blundering this to g2, or he has some idea that we don't see.
Yeah, g2 on the pawn.
Oh, I don't see anything. Yeah. Oh, Artur's, man.
Yeah.
Artur's. Look at
Yeah,
this.
it feels like he realized now, yeah, that he
Yeah.
did something wrong.
Look at this position he had.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay. G2. Well, I think, he's up so many points that I think he's still going to win the tournament, but it was like he
Yeah,
was
but-
really clinching it with this game. Oh, look at that's disappointment right
But
there.
at least there will be still will be a chance tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
For
no.
Dmitry to catch him.
Yeah.
I mean, of course it's very difficult, but
Yeah. Are you friends with Dmitry?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he's an interesting player. I would say stylistically he's your opposite.
yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, he likes the crazy. He doesn't even mind being worse.
Yeah.
Okay. So rook g5 was played, and we were thinking this is just a bad version of what we had before. So king f3, we're anticipating. And unfortunately, white just doesn't seem to have enough time. King b5, rook over.
And I don't even see a way how we can try to win at least.
Right. Notice that if h5, you can even do that.
No, it's still a draw.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay.
Rook f6.
Rook f6.
Not a bad way to make a draw.
So, the idea is going to be, I guess, that if the king comes up, then we check.
Yeah.
And then this is going to happen. And if, obviously, if white takes, then this is just completely a draw.
And after b7, we have rook b6.
b7, rook b6.
Yeah, it's
And
over.
again, at rook g7, rook b7. Okay, very nice.
Nice defense.
Yeah.
By Dmitry. Yeah.
It's it's funny too, because actually it all comes back down to this position where all of a sudden Dmitry had play, but I thought, well, Artur's found definitely the way to at least get an advantage, because you look at this and you think white's going to win, but then all of a sudden it's not so easy. And I guess just our final verdict was we didn't ever find a win for white,
Yep.
right? There might be somewhere in there, but it would be, this rook g8 looked like a very nice move, but we didn't find anything after rook f7. Oh yeah, he's basically agreeing to the draw right there with rook takes g2.
Yeah, they are going to exchange everything. No. Yeah.
All right, Grigori, thank you so much for staying to analyze that game. I thought I learned something. That was a nice one.
Yeah, very interesting endgame. Yeah.
All right, everybody, I think we are going to wrap it up for today. And, yeah, we got a lot of chess going on here. Of course, my day has just been full. I'm watching the Croatia thing, which I'm just still heartbroken that Fabi lost today. But watching that, and then he lost today after having such a nice position. Yeah, and we're going to get Caleb back, and he's going to give us a little roundup of everything that's going on, everything going forward. Not only did Fabi not win today, but Magnus surprisingly didn't win today. It looked like Magnus should have easily won, but yeah, I don't know. He played some moves that I thought were just natural and were going to win, and people with the computer were saying that he blew it, but it wasn't obvious to me that he was blowing it when he blew it. So that's something typical going forward.
All right, yeah, we see the players there talking about their game, and with that, I think that's all the games finished for today.
Done.
So we did see a winner in the B group, to recap, in Grigori Oparin, who so benevolently joined us there to do some analysis on this last game going on. So congratulations to Grigori. As for tomorrow, plenty to look out for in the action. In the C group, Nixon still has a very good chance to clinch the championship, only needing a draw. But in the A group, it is anyone's tournament. There are two leaders, I believe, with Liam Lee, as well as, let's see here. Liam Lee is actually the sole leader in the A group, yeah, as we can see, going into this final round, but he could be caught by Jeffrey Zhang, and Liam Lee's opponent is Sam Shanklin. So if Sam wins his game, he has a very good chance to get into a playoff, assuming Jeffrey does not win. In the C group, let's take another look at those standings, just to make sure we've got everything right. We've got Arturas Nixons leading by a full point, and Aram Hakobian, along with Dmitry Gordievsky, both trailing by 1 point. So if Arturas were to lose tomorrow, either Aram Hakobian or Dmitry Gordievsky would have a chance to catch him and force a playoff in the C group. So definitely a lot to look forward to in the coming round tomorrow. Remember, our show will be starting a little bit early. We're planning to start at 1:30 p.m., but if the Croatia tournament runs a bit long, we will be starting 30 minutes after the close of that broadcast. My name is Caleb Denby. I was joined, of course, by Grandmaster Jesse Kraai, giving you our thoughts on the games today at the Summer Chess Classic. Thank you so much for joining us and viewing, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
This has been a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club.